let's get going. Ahmed, I think let's bring you in, and I'm going to let you take it away, and off we go. Thanks, Ahmed.
Thank you, Chip. A warm welcome to everybody. I see people from all corners of the world have joined. A warm shout out to Edwin in Kenya. Baz, welcome. I remember Hana on AWS. You and I put that on the world map together. Roland, warm welcome. Fortinet, recognize the early partnership across various roles, Roland, you've had. And there are so many more. So this is about the community getting together. So I encourage you to kind of network and meet each other as a community as well. And as we come out of the pandemic, we'll also take this event to meet face-to-face as well, and look forward to doing that in a session shortly. The first one, I'm going to talk about the state of the ecosystem movement today, especially focusing on ecosystem automation. Later today, we have a distinct pleasure of having Greg Sarafin, managing partner at EY, come and talk about the message to CEOs and how they are embracing ecosystem-led models. But there was a very interesting study that came out very recently. In the survey, they said, and they found out after polling CEOs worldwide, that the ecosystem era has truly arrived. 71% of the companies are saying that ecosystems are extremely important of how their companies are currently successful or not. And it's no doubt that the 7 of the top 10 companies in the world today are ecosystem-led companies. And what is really interesting about this study is companies that are doing ecosystems well, they have figured out a recipe to do it well. They are actually making 2.1 times more revenue than others who are not doing so. So imagine the top line. They're actually growing twice as much as others in the industry. And on the bottom line, right, they also have a distinct cost advantage. The fact that you're combining assets, the fact that you're combining forces in doing what you do best and then partnering for the rest, if you will, you have a much better cost model in the industry as well. 1.5x lower cost. So 2.1 better in revenue, 1.5 better on cost. So imagine the multiple, the value unlocked. And I think that's the message on the ecosystem side, that these are very important business models, revenue models, not just in tech, but in general in the world today that is overtaking us. And we got to get better at how we create value from it, how do we capture value from it, and how do we actually enable our teams to work and span boundaries across the various work that we do in service of end customers. It's truly the end customers who are at the center of this network. And everybody has to combine, because this is an unrealistic, a dream that one company can do it all. In the service of the shared end customer, faster innovation, lower cost, lower risk, candidly speaking, when companies combine together. This is how we deliver value. And I think this is an important message that came out from the EY study. Chip, if you go to the next one, there's another very interesting conclusion that came out, which I love. Number one is, it's not just to create an ecosystem model, but also how to care and feed for it. If you start from the lowest point here, the bottom of the screen here, what you see is that you need to have an ecosystem-focused organization. It's somebody who lives and breathes partnering, somebody who truly understands the partner's evolving business models and can meet the partner where their business model is at. And while doing so, they have metrics, they have an ability to actually recognize which partners are creating value or co-creating value and which ones are not. And ultimately, it's about empowering that organization with the right leadership and the right budget. So after Greg talks about the CEO impact and the how come CEOs are embracing this, we have a very delightful example with Ria from New Relic. She's come in as the head of partnering ecosystem there, combining ecosystems and channels. And through the leadership, how ecosystem-led growth has happened and unleashed at New Relic is a great example to see and witness in terms of when an organization comes together, empowers a team to go after revenue with partners, co-creating, co-marketing, co-selling together, great growth is possible. And not only that, the ecosystem leaders are now presenting at the board level. And when they're presenting and talking and showing value in a quantified way, you can see that companies that empower that, 71% of the high performing ecosystems actually review ecosystem performance at the board level, which means they have metrics. So if you go back to SAP, for instance, we have Marie Booth later on coming today. If you look at the CEO dashboard at SAP, ecosystems is very, very high priority there. In fact, Carl Farbach was speaking yesterday or day before yesterday at the ecosystem economy, acceleration economy with some of the analysts. And he said, the idea is to move SAP from a partner-centric, customer-centric model to a partner-led model. And I think this is a very, very interesting change in the industry, that CEOs and partner leaders are recognized and reviewed metrics, empowerment, budgets at the ecosystem leadership level. And I think this change is really welcome for the state of the ecosystem today, that we have empowered leaders across organizations now coming up. And they're demanding that we have automation, we have metrics, that we have processes that actually take care of such things. But these leaders and organizations are meeting the challenges today. If you look at what kinds of challenges, these are the 5 things that we frequently hear from leaders and their organizations today. Number 1, we are mired in old ways of thinking in terms of types of partners and tiers of partners. There are many diverse types and tiers. Business models are changing. No reseller wants to be a pure reseller. No services company wants to just do services. They want to own IP, and so on and so forth. So there's a huge gap there, that the flexibility, the fluidity that is needed in ecosystem models today to serve an end customer is not enabled. And I think if we can imagine a world where flexibility to have any partner business model, how partners want to actually work with you, what they want to co-build, co-market, or co-sell with you, that's what's important. No partner wakes up in the morning and says, hey, I'm a diamond partner and I'm at this tier of a partnership. That doesn't happen. Next is we are mired in legacy tools, and there are diverse partner portals out there, and all of them have amazing experiences at the end of the day. But the reality is that a partner has to wake up every morning, figure out how to work with one partner versus another partner versus another one. And that's just the external diversity, leave alone the internal diversity of tools that you have. So imagine a different world instead, on a shared network to connect with any company and to connect with any ecosystem professional to get the work done. And that's the simplicity that we could aspire for. The third challenge that I've heard, and this is loud and clear, is patchy security and governance. So as you start working with partners, of course, we have legal frameworks like NDAs and others that are formed early in the partnership. But in reality, living the partnership requires you to share people, process data in a sustainable way, in a legally sensitive, but also competitively sensitive way. And I think a lot of these policies get invented on the fly with a specific partnership or with a specific individual. But we imagine a world where we could work with any company, where each company's team members are joining with their single sign-on, so that we know that indeed they are still part of the same company that we work with, that there's data security and privacy policies at the central level applied, which doesn't allow you to invent the policy on the fly with every partnership. It's consistent and evident to everybody how you work. And the other one that we see commonly today is manual swivel chair automation. Partner managers, partner business managers, business development managers are still looking at their CRM and entering data manually here, and doing so every week for 52 weeks. And they lose up to half a day every week just looking at data, bringing data over, copying stuff over from their systems. And these are complex processes, and each company's processes are not standardized today. And lack of this kind of standardization hampers all of us, because we are paying one ecosystem manager, one partner business manager at a time by re-entering, by updating stale information, working on stale information. But on the contrary, imagine if we were to work in a cross-company workflow that simplifies all of this thing. And then lastly, metrics. So many ecosystem leaders have come back and told us that, hey, wish we had metrics that are standardized. So we know how to measure sales today in terms of revenue, contribution. We know ARR, we know, in marketing qualified leads and sales accepted leads. There's standard terminology there. So in the ecosystem world, we need similar terminology that really helps us understand all of this. So imagine a world where we could start to measure teams, measure partnerships on this basis. So the state of the ecosystem union here is that these are the challenges, and there are early majority companies that are able to kind of figure this out. And these are the companies that are getting the 2.1x revenue growth and 1.5x lower cost, essentially. And underlying this is a larger trend that we see. So just if we talk about Jay McBain calling this the decade of the ecosystem, and Chris Weber at IDC and Steve White at IDC talking about this as ecosystem value unlocked. We are seeing in this decade, just as we saw in the prior 2 decades, there was Salesforce automation with, Salesforce, of course, leading the way, year 2000, 2010. We all knew that direct sales became quantified, their workflows were automated, there was no manual data entry, metrics got standardized, and along with it, the chief revenue officer role came in. Like I was still there when sales reported to operations in many companies. Now you cannot imagine the head of sales not being empowered at the board level. And that's what Salesforce automation and the sales-led movement brought there. Harken to 2010 onwards, we had marketing automation. At a time when CMOs didn't report again to the board, often they would not know which part of marketing worked. Now you have automated marketing flows. We've gone to the other extreme, in my opinion, but the idea that we can optimize cookies, we can think about marketing metrics and the role of the chief marketing officer and getting the budget, candidly speaking, more budget than CIOs, in fact, to drive marketing. That's really what happened in the last decade. This decade, what we are seeing is that this is a must-have for partner professionals, ecosystem automation, just as marketing automation and sales automation is important for sales and marketing professionals. We are seeing the early majority of companies actually put in these cross-company workflows, data security, privacy policies codified, standard metrics kind of emerging, and this role of the chief partner officer, chief ecosystem officer that Greg talked about or will talk about. So this role is now pretty important in companies, and we are seeing rise of the chief partner officer in many, many companies, and you will see this in this decade as much. So again, a lot of empowerment coming in the ecosystem state of the union. There are 5 capabilities that we've started benchmarking companies on, and the level of automation they've reached in that. First is people. Are they able to connect with any company out there, and are they able to work with people in a multi-party ecosystem? Here again, the idea here is with security, with single sign-on and things like that. Second is in the area of workflows. Do you have broken workflows? Do you have workflows that just stop at your company boundaries? It's a system for you, but not necessarily shared with a partner. And in this case, do these processes actually cross company boundaries? Third one is in data. Do you have data sharing rules in place? Do you have a data hub where you are kind of bringing your own data to bear to a business process, but also increasing data feeds and API feeds from partners that are improving the insights that you can get? Are you getting the data from more partners? And this is a very interesting insight. With Apple and others kind of cracking down on marketing technologies such as cookies and others, we are seeing the second party data, which is your partner's data, play an increasingly important role in signals. So it's just not your data. If you work with, let's say, 100 partners, you have 100x more data than you can imagine. And these kinds of insights are you leveraging in your recommendations, for example? Cisco is a fantastic example of this, putting this in play. And that's where you can benchmark yourself on medium to low or high in terms of maturity. And lastly, security and access. Do you have access and security and controls in place that do that? So there was a very interesting paper, ecosystem business maturity model that Chip showed at the beginning. So these are the 5 metrics that 5 areas where we evaluate and show the maturity in terms of whether you have these systems and processes in place that can take you from an early maturity level to a very, very advanced maturity level. So I encourage you to look at that paper. And today we have an interesting the most important announcement that we're going to make. today with this event. The announcement is the availability of the WorkSpan Co-Sell app. As you've known, WorkSpan has offered a Co-Sell platform for a long time for some of the largest ecosystems in the world, such as those at AWS, Microsoft, and other cloud providers. We have SAP, for example, Cisco, Deloitte, Kyndryl, large GSIs and ISVs, but also fast-growing startups, companies like Wiz, Orca Security, Palo Alto Networks, Databricks, MongoDB, things like companies like that. The idea here is we're taking this secure enterprise-grade Co-Sell platform that is already doing close to 50 billion in Co-Sell pipeline worldwide, and now making it available for any Co-Sell partnership. And this is phenomenal because any company, any size, you can now get WorkSpan, you can plug in and then play with anybody on the WorkSpan network. And the connections are only once, and it deploys quickly. 2 to 4 weeks is the standard time for doing this. And the idea is very simple. It connects to your CRM. Let's say you run Salesforce, it connects to your Salesforce on one side, but on the partner side as well, it connects to theirs. And as a result, it's a completely automated system. You're not manually shuttling data and stuff like that. It's a bidirectional integration on both sides. This gives you the real-time dashboards and performance metrics and standard metrics, talking about standardization of how you measure it. And it's a single solution for scale to any number of partners. So you can start small, you can then scale it to any company, any GSI, ISV, hyperscaler partner that you work with. So that's the announcement. It's out there, WorkSpan Co-Sell app. Go give it a shot. And we actually have an offer for companies who want to try this out. Chip, if you go to the next slide, please. And we talked about these capabilities of the Co-Sell app that is unique. So one is you're joining a multi-party ecosystem. So here you can work with any partner. Either you can, if you don't see somebody, you can invite that partner into the WorkSpan platform, and then you can start to work with them. Second is these are best-in-class Co-Sell workflow processes. We've perfected them. The stages in these workflows, the business actions that come out of it now come out of the box. You don't have to think about it. Third is it connects to, as I mentioned, to your Salesforce, but also to the partner Salesforce system. And as a result, it has got a real-time feed of information that the ecosystem professionals can rely on. And it comes with dashboards and metrics automatically baked into it. So again, you don't have to, you get a fantastic starting point that can jumpstart your ecosystem journey with Co-Sell, as an example. And as before, very secure, and you get to work with your single sign-on as well as the partner single sign-on. And this is how it works. Very simple, join WorkSpan, start a Co-Sell program, connect to your Salesforce system, for example, invite partners. You can invite a CSP, a GSI, an ISV, managed service provider, hardware company that you work with, anybody you co-sell with. There are so many business models around co-selling. And they see your invite, they join the same network. It's very simple. Within 5 minutes, they're onboarded. And the idea here is not only they can just, for example, if you look at the last visual there, you can manually enter information. You can also enter bulk information in spreadsheets, but the best experience is when you connect your Salesforce to it. We also have on our roadmap, today we connect bidirectionally with Salesforce with native experience. We also have on our roadmap HubSpot, Dynamics, and other CRMs as well. So this is game-changing. It's true bidirectional CRM capability for any partnership out there. And since you're here, one of the key offers today that we are talking about is this. So Kickstart your Co-Sell program with 5. We are going to give this offer to the first 25 companies. Literally, we just came out of this exercise with the first 5, and amazing results already. So it's $5K a month, and the idea is very simple. You connect your CRM, you get your Co-Sell opportunities up and running, invite partners. They get to also get a free CRM implementation on their CRM side, and we will also give them the first year for free if they opt into this program. So it's of course you're paying for the 5 partners, but your partners join for free. They get an entire full year for free including the connection to the Salesforce application. And for the second year, they can opt in to pay or not to pay. So a no-brainer, essentially. Very, very excited with this. I wanted to welcome everybody again. And we have a fantastic lineup of speakers next. And with that, Chip, I want to bring you back in.
That was fantastic, Amit. And actually, we did have a question that came in from the audience. So it's a little bit of a long one, but George, thank you for asking. Hi, Amit. While getting all partners to agree on sharing a baseline set of data to enable automation, is there a place where we can make an early start? Can we do a show and tell with partners to convince them that digitization and automation are all good for ecosystem growth?
Yeah, that's precisely what we're offering with this 5-partner thing. So let's connect offline. The fact that we have a template and a base model ready to go. This is something that you adopt yourself first, and then invite the 5 partners, as we mentioned. So definitely, we can talk more about this.
Fantastic.